Yes, it's a Monday morning, another gorgeous day in the Finger Lakes region. Boy, do we deserve this weather. It is Monday, May the 6th, 2013. This is the Dog H. Weber with you on an every Monday morning scenario at 9:30 as we do Weber on Sports, etc. And I put etc. because, as we have talked about, we have a sports guy in with us this morning, Joe Sposato, a longtime buddy of mine, to talk on a multitude of topics. We always like to get his opinion. But also, we're going to open up our show. We announced that several months ago to bring in politicians, business leaders, charity people that want to run a benefit. We want to talk about all kinds of topics. So that's the reason we're kind of renaming the show a little bit. But our emphasis will be sports. And, of course, when we have a political person in here, we'll still throw up some sports for you. But first off, it's good to bring back my longtime buddy, Joe Sposato, who I had the opportunity to broadcast a lot of his exploits as a coach. Some of my fondest memories. Joe, good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Some of my fondest memories comes with Joe, and I always, when I see you, Joe, I always think of that towel you used to have on the bench when you were coaching basketball. That little towel there. I remember that. I remember that like it happened yesterday.
It's been washed.
I bet it has. Well, listen, speaking of Joe, we're going to get into some topics, but I wanted to give you a rundown of some guests that we have planned on bringing in here for future weeks, just to quickly run down our ledger. Some are confirmed, some are not, but we're working on this. By the way, if you've gone by Route 89 heading to Saginaw Falls Country Club or just driving down Ithaca, the NYCC Executive Links, or it's called Cayuga Links, the Executive Links, a little par 3 golf course. I think there's 1 or 2 par 4s in there. I've had a chance to play it a few times, and the New York Chiropractic College for a couple of years has run that, and Tony Petrosha and his team have done a magnificent job. They have made the decision to get out of the golf business, and they leased it to a couple of young people. I've met Matt Mancini, whose background deals with turf, and I talked to his wife, Melissa. They're expected to be in here next week to talk about their enterprise. They're running now. They're leasing the New York Chiropractic College Cayuga Links, so they will be in next week to talk about their operation and hopefully to engage you, the audience. And so that'll be our guest for next week. Speaking of non-sports types of individuals, I've always thought that New York Chiropractic College, and Joe's been there many times like myself, the head of it, Frank Nietzsche, is a personal friend. I've known him for many years. He's coming in to do the show to talk about the college, and also he's an ardent golfer, and you can always remember, if you play at Seneca Falls, he's always the first guy to tee off with Lou DiLorenzo at about 6:30 in the morning. They always get out early. And by the way, this Frank's quite the golfer, and I saw him go out the other day as a singles. So he was playing by himself, but he's a golf nut. So we'll have Frank Nietzsche in the studio, hopefully in a couple of weeks. Also, Brad Jones, the chairman of the town of Seneca Falls Republican Party, wants to talk politics. We're trying to get him pinned down. As Jim pointed out, we want to get John Rossi, the director of golf at Geneva. We're trying to work a date out for John to show up on the air via either live and in person or via the phone. Brittany Anderson, who Joe knows is an outstanding athlete, a senior from Miners Academy who had a sensational 4-year run as an outstanding athlete. Brittany Anderson, we're trying to pin her down to get her in here for an interview. And our latest and greatest idea is to talk to a representative of Oak Hill Country Club, which I've had the chance in my terrible golf career to play that course, the East several times, the West.
What did you shoot?
The East course, probably 106, 108.
That wouldn't make the cut at the PGA.
No. But the PGA, of course, Glory's last shot will be played in Rochester, a hotbed of major golf tournaments. They've had a Ryder Cup. They've had many majors there. They're all going to tee it up. Everybody in the world of golf, from Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, and all, will be arriving to the area. That will be in, of course, the month of August, the last major of this year. We're going to get a hold of a representative. We're going to work on that and talk about the plans, because Brad Jones, for example, I pick on Brad a lot on this show. He, along with, I'm sure, other people in the area, have volunteered to work the tournament. Brad's job will be to drive golfers to and from the airport and to the hotel. And we were kidding Brad about yesterday. Please do not tell Rory McIlroy if he shoots an opening 75 as you take him back to the Sheraton. Don't tell him what he was doing wrong on the tee, because Brad has a tendency of doing that. But, Joe, it's good to have you along. Let's talk, Joe, first off about some area high school sports and look at some standings. Of course, as the seasons get underway, they are underway. Let's talk first off high school baseball, a sport you're very familiar with. Not only were you an outstanding basketball coach, you have delved in obviously being a baseball, because my good friend Scott Trickler brings up memories of you years ago when he was a player for you, and you had to tie him down to make sure he competed, right?
A little bit.
A little bit. But Finger Lakes East, Joe, so far, Palmac leads the way, and I'm only pointing out winning records so far for time restraints. Finger Lakes East, Palmac leading the way, Geneva, Newark, Penn Yan, Minders Academy, all with winning records, Joe. Some good teams playing good baseball.
Well, from what I understand, and I haven't watched a lot of high school baseball the last few years, but since I've been retired. But I will say that I've heard a lot about Palmyra's team. They've got some really good pitching, and it appears that they're running through that league pretty well. I'm always cognizant of the fact of how well Penn Yan does in all four major spring sports year after year after year. Now, I know they're down in softball this year, but usually Penn Yan will have winning baseball, winning softball, winning boys lacrosse, winning girls lacrosse, and for a school that size to do that
Pretty amazing.
in their spring sports is very amazing. And spring sports are tough. You don't get off to a good start. They're tough. I mean, I can't say that kids are as focused as they were 10, 15, and 20 years ago, and when it comes to that. So Palmac may give the run towards the sectionals, which is kind of nice because there hasn't been that many sectional champions from this side of Rochester in baseball in a while.
Joe Sposato is our guest. Joe, let's move to Finger Lakes West. Red Jacket, unblemished record, 8-0. Other winning teams in that Western Division: Bloomfield, Naples, and Honeoye. Red Jacket obviously playing great baseball.
And in that, you're mentioning four schools,
Yep.
three of which, Red Jacket, Naples, and Honeoye, are perennially above 500 and put good teams out. Glad to see that Bloomfield has a good team out this year. They're the only small school trying to run both baseball and lacrosse. So for them to have a winning season, you're a Class C school. You only have a certain amount of people that play, and they're pretty well stretched. And to have a winning baseball team, that's very good.
Wayne County, East Rochester, Lions, Clyde Savannah, Gananda, with winning records.
East Rochester is another baseball school. If you went back 20 years, you'd see East Rochester. If you went back 30 years, you'd see East Rochester. That's not really a surprise.
Let's talk about the game of softball since we're moving out of high school baseball. Joe Sposato, our guest for the half hour this morning. Softball, Geneva, Waterloo, Minders Academy, and Wayne.
And Waterloo has, I've seen a few of their games of late. They've won quite a few in a row. They had 2 early season losses. She was looking for the right combination. I think she's found it. Crystal's a good friend,
Yep.
and I'm very happy to say she continues to do a fantastic job over there. So I will not surprise me. They avenged their loss against Newark, and it will not surprise me to see them beat Geneva.
Coach Lindsey Johnson play on that team?
No, she does not.
She plays lacrosse?
She does not. She really focuses a lot in the springtime on AAU basketball.
Oh, no kidding. So, and then Lauren Deming, a great basketball player at Waterloo, she plays lacrosse. She's a good lacrosse player.
She does.
Okay.
Yes.
And by the way, Crystal's been a guest of our show, and she's always done an outstanding job. Finger Lakes West, Joe, in softball. Honeoye runs off to a record. Red Jacket 6-0, and Marcus Whitman 7-3. So that's a nice start for Honeoye.
Very nice start for Honeoye, and Marcus Whitman, you got to remember, is a Class B school in a CD league, and we won't go any further than that.
Okay. Well, let's go to Wayne County. Gananda 11-0 in the game of softball. Lions and North Rolls Wolcott.
And Gananda is another school that when we hosted the state tournament, they were in it one year. So their softball tradition is noteworthy.
Let's move to boys lacrosse as Joe Sposato joins us here on the Weber Show on a Monday. Hope you're having a good Monday AM. It's a gorgeous weather pattern. They're only talking a chance of a few showers later in the week. We might even need them. It is such a nice, dry conditions on the golf
Getting
course.
a lot of roll, Harold. I don't know.
Oh, I love the
right?
roll. I love the roll. Man, with my game, I need every ounce I can get out of there. I was just picking on Jimmy Senecopa, who's the director of Seneca Falls Country Club. I was accusing him of unfair, illegal pin placements at the club. But, man, those pins were tight. Jim says there's no rule against that. So, hey, Doug and the guys down there.
I did find that out, too, because they had the golf ball at the creek this past week.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, one of them had to be about 4.5 feet off the corner.
I
found out they can do that.
I saw Seneca Falls had one about 2 I'm not kidding. It looked like 2 feet from the front. It was just amazing.
That's fun, though. That makes it fun.
You got to bounce it in there.
That makes it fun. You don't want every pin in the middle of the green.
I agree. All right, Joe, let's move to sport. Boys lacrosse, Finger Lakes East, Geneva, once again, 9-0. Pelmac and Wayne. Geneva unblemished.
Okay, and Geneva in the league they are, and they did beat Penn Yan, and Penn Yan's an independent in lacrosse. That's going to be a very interesting Section 5 Class C tournament.
So you're saying that Penn Yan's not in the Finger Lakes leagues in lacrosse?
Penn Yan opted out 5 or 6 years ago so they could go play bigger schools.
Wow.
And I can tell you that some of us did not want them to do that, but he got enough votes to do it. And but they're out there, and Geneva did play them in a non-league game and beat them this year.
Yeah,
so
they also really handed it to Minders, who looks pretty good this year too in lacrosse. They beat them like 14-4. Geneva looks good.
Well, Minders has the goalie. The Trickler kid. The Trickler kid is legit. He's a very, very good goalie.
One more quick thing on lacrosse. My daughter plays on an 8-year-old girls lacrosse team. My wife helps coach, and they beat Penn Yan's 8-year-old girls. So maybe the future for
nice.
Let me tell you something. 8-year-old girls lacrosse is
got to be hilarious.
Well, if you see one completed pass during the game, then it was a success. But it's a lot of scooping and it's funny.
Finger Lakes West, Gananda, boys lacrosse 7-2 on Minders Academy with winning records out of the West so far.
Yeah, Gananda has only been in the program 5 years. I think this was a group of kids that they built the program for, and I think they're delivering. But then again, in lacrosse, in the sectionals, there's only 3 classes, so every one of these people are going to be in Penn Yan and Geneva's classification because classifications are only A, B, C, and so that encompasses a lot more schools. So I hope they enjoy their season. But when you see Penn Yan and Geneva, you can see it's a notch above.
Girls lacrosse, our final sport that we're going to run down this morning. Finger Lakes East, Geneva Pelmac, leading the way with winning records in girls lacrosse.
Yeah, and I think Waterloo is somewhere there because I think they're undefeated in the league.
They're in the West, yeah.
They're in the other. Okay, they split them. That's right.
Amazing.
I don't know that too much about Geneva and Palmyra. Usually, the stronger teams have come out of the West. The Marcus Whitmans, Newark was good a little while ago, and Waterloo. Waterloo is going to. I know they're leading the West at 9-0, and they went out and they played Irondequoit twice, and they played Rush Henrietta, and they've tried to play some larger schools. So when they have to go meet the incomparable Honey Eye Falls Lima in the sectionals this year, that they've got, they played that kind of competition. Waterloo's a very talented team.
And by the way, Waterloo 9-0, Penn Yan 9-1.
Yes,
right there.
Waterloo beat them.
Yep,
that's right.
Right there. Well, Joe Sposato is our special guest. We just went through some of the high school sports in the Finger Lakes region, getting his opinion. But we got Joe here to talk about some other topics as well, as we join you on a Mother's Day week coming up Sunday. In my view, Mom's Day should be honored every day of the year, 365 days a year. So if you're planning on doing something for your mom, and you should, or shame on you, that's coming up Sunday. And, of course, the dog has a big anniversary tomorrow with my wife, Mary. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But now we want to pay some bills. We'll take a break, come back with Joe Sposato, our special guest on Weber on Sports. Welcome back, everybody. It's a dog in the kennel here on a Monday morning Weber on Sports Edition of the Finger Lakes on FingerLakes1.com. Joe Sposato, a longtime buddy of mine, joining us on the couch this morning to go over many sports topics. And, of course, Joe, I would be remiss if I did not ask you your reaction to the Rice incident, Mr. Rice of Rutgers University. A lot of video, probably video that he was probably not expecting to get out to the media. As soon as it did, it exploded from here to Israel. The fact that he was probably cruel and unusual with his players, it was obvious that he lost control. Your opinion of that? Did you believe that, of course, the AD lost his job as well? First off, your opinion of that action, and is it your speculation like it's mine that maybe that goes on more than we're aware of, or maybe now that he's been caught and they've disciplined, got rid of him, and plus the AD lost his job, some people calling for the president, that hasn't happened yet. Your opinion on what happened there?
Well, you know, it's 2013.
Right.
It's 1972 when Woody Hayes gets mad at somebody.
Sure.
And you've seen this all along, and I think if you're going to coach in this day and age, you have to make the adjustments, and you have to coach a completely different type of product that you had 30 and 40 years ago.
Exactly.
Now, I would be more concerned as to their process at Rutgers, because the thing that was alarming to me was that in Robert Morris, I believe it was, he had a history of that.
Okay.
Now he's in Rutgers with a history of that. What happened in your interview process?
Right.
How far did you go? And I don't even know if that AD is the one that hired him.
Right.
I don't even know that.
Sure.
Okay. Furthermore, it's always interesting to me how the buck stops with the AD.
Yeah, right.
And not the president of the university.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
He was certainly aware of it. Yeah.
It's now stopped with the, it's I see that along the way, and I sometimes wonder. I understand that they have bigger fish to fry, but if you have this multi-million-dollar company, which is called Interscholastic College Athletics, on your campus, you better have some control over it.
That's a good point.
And then Mike Rice is probably the second highest paid, employee of Rutgers University, perhaps, behind the football coach.
Yeah. Very well, that could very well be, and you don't know what's going on, and I believe the AD got a very handsome payoff to leave, and I believe that might have been take the fall, here's your money,
goodbye,
go away, and we'll make sure we give you a good recommendation somewhere else, because I don't know how much at fault he was. He had to have brought that upstairs, and
I've had coaches like that over the years, and we would, we as players, maybe not to that extreme with some of the language. Well, then again, maybe so. We, growing up, I've had probably 24 different coaches, and some of them were very similar to that. And we as players would kind of take it, and then joke about it after. I think that people see that, and they think it's really having an effect on some of these players, and maybe it does on some individual players. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that I've seen that before.
But there's it's no joke no more.
Right.
No. And that's the whole thing.
Right.
You find that I had to come back and coach in 2008, 2009 for 1 year when we were in between coaches. And that was a lot different than taking your 1992 team to play Seneca Falls on January 7th in front of 1,500 people. That's a whole different ball game. Sure. So you have to adjust to the times. So when you look at a Krzyzewski, when you look at who adjusts to the times, Boeheim,
sure,
who adjusts to the times. If you're going to coach, you adjust to the times. You have to. One of the highest things that a coach can do is be able to effectively motivate their players, okay? And you got to do it under the rules of 2013.
I agree. All right, let's go as we closing in on 10 o'clock. We'll probably go 5 minutes over today. We got Joe Sposato. Got a few more topics I want to get his opinion on. First off, Joe, NFL draft just completed. Shock to me, and he wears Doug Marrone, the Syracuse coach, now the head coach of the Bills. 13 years without a playoff spot, 8 years in a row without a winning record. They shocked the pro football world. They shocked yours truly and many others. I'm not standing alone in this decision. Picking E.J. Manuel in the first round out of Florida State, Joe, surprise to you?
I think that any quarterback you took in the first round would have been a surprise to me.
Yeah.
And if I'm with Buffalo, I would just, if I was a Buffalo Bills fan and concerned that now they've got to do something with this kid right away, I'm just going to remind you it's Kevin Cobb.
Yeah, exactly.
Kevin Cobb will start unless he gets hurt again.
Right.
And I guess that's why Travaris Jackson's around.
He's probably getting hurt.
So I think they tried to go with somebody hugely athletic. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yep.
Now, that isn't the same Doug Marrone that was at Syracuse University.
That's right.
Because he was very conservative. He was very defensive-oriented, very special teams-oriented.
Right.
I thought the offense run by a smart quarterback, not really an athletic quarterback, and now that goes the other way. So I'm kind of wondering who else in the system that employs Doug Marrone wanted this guy.
Yeah.
So
well, it's amazing to me, and we'll have to wait and see. Ryan Nesbitt, of course. Weird about Ryan Nesbitt. Jimmy follows him very closely, being an SU grad himself. Loved by the SU following. Marrone loved this kid. What was weird to me, the pundits that looked at the draft before the draft. You know, Joe, there was 8,000 shows on determining who would go where. Ryan Nesbitt was an asterisk, in my opinion.
Gruden.
30%. Yeah, Gruden loved him. 30% of pundits, and there was a stat on ESPN about him. 30% of the pundits leading up to the draft did not think he would get drafted. Did not think he would get drafted at all. 40% thought he would get drafted in the third or fourth round. And then the other percentages were, I think it was like 7% thought he'd get in the first round. To me, that was shocking leading up with this kid. The Giants take him. Tommy Coughlin takes him. 115th pick overall, fourth round. Your opinion of that decision? And was it a good decision for Ryan to go to the Giants, even though, as you know, Joe, and I know, there's a lot of pine waiting for this guy to sit on a bench a long time?
Well, first of all, if you subscribe to the fact that he wasn't one of the best 4 quarterbacks available,
okay,
and the quarterbacks, the 4th or 5th quarterback went in the 3rd round,
right,
okay, I've got to tell you, I think Ryan is the luckiest guy in the world. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's going to go to an organization.
Right.
He is going to learn to play the game the right way. Mm-hmm. He's going to certainly fit into that kind of style because he is more of the cerebral, mechanical type quarterback where better to go. All right? Mm-hmm. And you got Eli Manning ahead of you.
That's right.
All right. Now, if you make significant progress in practice and significant progress in exhibition games, and remember, he's going to play in the exhibition season because Manning doesn't play a lot in the exhibition season.
Hardly, they all do. Right?
So, if he does this, he's only going to increase his notoriety. Mm-hmm. And maybe he's there 2 years. Maybe he's there 3 years. Right. Maybe he's there longer.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But I think it's excellent for him. Now, the Giants, they reached a little bit, but the Giants have a habit of going to find the people they want.
True.
And then they kind of stay away from anybody with a lot of issues, although they did draft one kid this year that has some issues. It's not surprising. Not surprising.
The other nice thing for Nassib is that Justin Pugh is one of his best friends. He went first round to the Giants, so now he's going to go to New York with one of his best friends. And, I'm a Giants fan, and anytime they take Syracuse players, I love it. I loved it when they took Joe Morris.
Joe Morris.
I wish they still had him.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, the FBI is pretty busy with the terrorist situation around the country and around the world, but they're also opening up a new investigation to find out the one idiot did not vote for LeBron James for MVP. 121 votes available. He got 120. Name it, Joe. Who could be the idiot?
Well, who got the other vote?
Carmelo.
Carmelo.
Yeah. Boston Globe writer.
Give me a break. How does this person ever sit down at a typewriter, well, not a typewriter, but, I'm going back in the 60s now, in front of their computer going, yeah, come on. LeBron James, if he's not the MVP, if Carmelo's the MVP over LeBron, you're 6'4".
It depends how you define MVP.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
LeBron,
Carmelo may have been more important to the Knicks than LeBron was to the Heat.
Oh, my God.
I wish somebody would define that because
I agree.
Because you think MVP, you want to look at a winning team, and then there's somebody else that a team won 50 games and lost 32, and that guy may have been the guy that took him to. I mean, you go back.
I know.
You go way back. Remember, Oscar Robertson used to get MVPs, and Cincinnati was eliminated in the first round.
Right. So, well, I'll tell you something. In my humble opinion, I'm never right about anything. Even though I did pick the right horse in the Kentucky Derby, I just wish I'd bet more money on him. But Joe and Jimmy, in my humble opinion, looking at this LeBron James, you guys are probably not old enough to remember. Joe might be. The $6 Million Man was a TV show. Remember that show?
Sure.
If this LeBron James is not the greatest specimen to dazzle on a basketball court that I have ever laid one eye on in my 68 years of life, there's nobody that has the physical specimen and the awareness of watching this guy play basketball. He's got size, speed, he does it all. I am going to make a statement here, and I know people are going to say you're nuts. If this guy stays healthy for another 8 to 10 years, in my judgment, he could be the greatest NBA player that ever lived. Ever.
And I want to.
This guy's got to me, physical. From a physical standpoint, Joe, you're an ex-basketball coach. Tell me there's one flaw with his physical.
I just want to add one asterisk to it.
Okay.
And I hope I kind of like to have it happen.
Okay.
Because when you put this asterisk.
Yep.
And he didn't need to play college basketball to do it. Okay?
Good point.
So maybe the NCAA can take a look at that.
Right.
And college basketball, sometimes there are kids who at 18 years old out of high school, you don't have to maneuver to pigeonhole them into a college and keep them there for a year when they could go right to the pros.
There's a lot of
now I
other
think
examples.
You got to go 1 year, right?
You have to, but you're right. Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, Dwight Howard.
You're right.
These are some of the biggest stars in the NBA. They jumped right. And I agree that if they want to go to the NBA, let them go, because I think it hurts the college game more recruiting guys like Nerlens Noel and these one-and-dones for 1 year. They're not going for a degree.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
All right, we're running out of time. Just a couple of quick more thoughts. Triple Crown, of course, the racing's Triple Crown. We haven't had a winner of a Triple Crown in a zillion years. Orb, O-R-B, a horse that was favored by everybody, wanted this or thought this horse was going to win the race. Sloppy track at Churchill, raining like mother over the weekend. My wife and Mary and myself always bet a few bucks. We always go up to OTB and donate a few bucks in the Triple Crown. But Joe and Jimmy, I was telling them, you talk about an opportunity that was bypassed by a lot of bettors. I went up and I was going to bet the exacta with Orb on top. It would have cost me $36. Instead, I bet two horses for Mary. She bets 2 to win, 2 to place, 2 to show. So I bet $12 for Mary because she picks 2 nags. I bet Orb 2, and I bet Revolutionary 2, which, by the way, finished third, so I got show money. My point is, everybody, even at the track, the NBC people said Orb's going to win the race. I had very few people tell me that anyone else was going to win this race. This horse is a 5-1 shot at post time, comes blazing down the stretch, wins it going away, no problem, pays $12 at OTB. If you had invested $36, there was a scratch. The number 1 horse got scratched at post time. If you invested $36, took Orb on top with all the other horses, would have cost you 18 times 2. My math is pretty good. You're a math guy. The return on that exacta was, are you ready? $920. I was at OTB cashing my $26 for winning. I told Jimmy this morning, you talk about an opportunity to ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I'm sorry I didn't bet the exacta because I always do. $920 exacta when everybody who followed thoroughbred racing thought Orb was going to win the race. So pretty amazing. Orb now will compete. And looking at his charge down the stretch, of course, the next race, the Preakness in 2 weeks, is a shorter race than, of course, the Belmont Stakes, the 1.5 miles.
So has he got a chance at the Triple Crown? That's all anybody cares about.
I do think so, Jim. I really like his style of running. He stays off the pace. I mean, he was, Jimmy, 28 lengths behind in the Derby, and he made that charge. Yeah. So I'm kind of hoping and praying we get a Triple Crown winner. Joe, what else is going on with your life before we wrap the show up? How's the family doing?
Very well.
Everybody's doing good?
Yep.
Your back's a little tweaked this morning?
Yeah, a little bit. You know,
what'd you try to do? Hit a three-wood too far or what?
Too much yard work, Harold. You got to stay away from that.
You gotta open up that Holy Communion money that you got when you were 7. Give out some money to some kids, including your own, to do the lawn and do that garden work for you.
We may be reaching that point.
I reached that point 25 years ago. Hey, by the way, we talked about Mom's Day. I know Joe and everybody joins me along with Jimmy. We wish the moms a great day on Sunday. And again, it irks me to think that we only celebrate Mom's Day one day in the month of May, because, Joe, you can speak to that. Our moms, without them, where would we be today?
That's true.
I'd like to send out a very happy Mom's Day to all of the moms checking out the dog show this morning. And by the way, I would be remiss and I'd probably get shot. I met Mary Santa Palermo some 49 years ago. We dated, we broke up our dating, then we started going out together. We got engaged, we got married May 7th, 1966, and tomorrow is our 47th wedding anniversary. Joe and Jim know Mary, and I know they're going to
tell you.
She is a saint.
Saint Mary Weber.
Let me tell you something, folks. Everybody says, how did you luck out with Mary Santa Palermo? I don't know. It was just she must have felt sorry for the dog. By the way, folks, when the Lord decides to take me and her, I can tell you right now, it's etched in cement. She will go fast track to heaven. I will spend 10 years in purgatory and then the next 10 in hell. So happy anniversary to my wife, Mary. From the dog, 47 years tomorrow. It's hard to believe. And Jimmy and Joe are saying, what a saint that Mary is.
Yep. Hey, one question for Joe before we go that I wanted to ask you. I know you're involved in the basketball program at Waterloo, and a lot of good young players. It was a tough start to the year, and then we saw some new younger kids emerge. Nick Stenberg was one. Jones and shooting the ball well from outside. Yeah. How do you feel about the program going forward and coming into next winter?
You know, it was nice to see that the younger kids have a passion for basketball, and they not only the sophomores and freshmen, but there was also a 7th and 8th grade group that Kevin Korzaneski was coaching.
They were really good.
That also had that. So I think Jeff Panic, given the time, will put that situation back in order, and it will probably be the first boys program that's kind of been down for a couple of years that resurrects. Basketball's always the easier one to resurrect because you don't need as many people. But it was fun at the end. It really was, and I go in a few days a week and went to the home games and whatever and helped out, and they connect. Those kids connected, and I hope that they grow up with it and not grow out of it. That's the situation you have to have, and
well, and then also on the bright side, while the boys have been down for a year or two, the Waterloo girls are
great.
State.
Oh, what a great run there.
I enjoyed watching them, and Mike did a great job with them, and I enjoyed watching them. They had a lot of very good teamwork. When the ball had to get someplace, it got there. They're very good, and they'll be very good next year too.
All right, folks, and by the way, Joe, for that bad back, the dog will give you a tip before I sign off. I've had ailments. I'm a lot older than you are. Icy hot and cold. Rub it on the area. You'll be amazed how it comes back.
Got it on right now.
There you go, baby. The dog lives with icy hot and cold. It's part of my golf bag. Hey, folks, don't forget, next Monday morning we are expecting to bring in a couple of young folks running the Cougar Lynx. Executive Links course on Route 89 down at the New York Chiropractic College. Melissa and Matt Mancini will be our guests on the couch next Monday on the Weber Show. So take care, everybody. Thanks, Joe, for joining us here on a Monday. I got to go see Joe's former baseball great, Scott Trickler. Maybe Scott will buy me breakfast. Yeah, you're laughing. Yeah, that is funny, right, Joe?
Why don't you buy him for a change?
I did once. I did about 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, I did. I took a picture of it. Take care, everybody. It's always a slice. Enjoy this great weather. That's a look at sports my way.
Oh.